Sex Talk.
Hi, I'm Jenoa.
I'm Mo.
This is
The Sex Talk.
So today we're going to talk about how to not express your emotions.
Which she really means is how to be
Non-reactive.
Non-reactive.
Right, which sounds a lot healthier than what I just said.
Yeah, because we want to acknowledge those emotions.
Right, you don't want to stuff your feelings.
Right.
That's really important, not to stuff your feelings.
Yeah.
But it's also important not to just fly off the handle and react to shit.
Right. And so I find that a lot of my clients have a hard time grasping this, so I figured it would be a good one to do an episode on, because I think a lot of people think, well, if you want me to be non-emotionally reactive, that means I'm not expressing my emotions.
Right.
But it's actually, you're acknowledging your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, I'm feeling really angry right now and I want to punch a wall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling really jealous and I want to go punch that guy who looked at my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to.
It sounds like I feel statements are the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Even just for yourself, not to other people.
Right.
You could ask yourself, how do I feel?
Yeah.
And then identify that feeling. And that's the difference between stuffing your feelings and pretending like you don't have any,
Right.
and non-reactive.
Right. So, yeah. Or, you see, here's the thing, like, how does that happen? Like, that's why I think it's important to, if you are dealing with anger or jealousy, any sort of negative feeling that you could potentially be flying off the handle at any given moment, and having what we call an emotional reaction, which is, like I was saying, the punching the wall or getting mad at someone and saying something you don't mean.
Right. And then you're basically punishing other people for your feelings, which is not cool.
And ruining relationships, hurting people's feelings, you know, the gamut of things that come with being human. You know, let's face it, we've all been emotionally reactive. And I also want to preface it by saying that being non-emotionally reactive is a work in progress.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, it's not easy, and so you start on a journey to be non-emotionally reactive, and recognize you're going to have days where you're not going to do as well, and you're some things will trigger you more than others.
Right.
Some people will trigger you more than others. Some situations will be way harder to deal with than others. And so one is expressing your feelings either on a journal, to a therapist, you know, some way to yourself.
Yeah.
Saying, you know, I am angry, this makes me angry. And then I think the next step is recognizing what those triggers are.
Right. As far as the first step, I would also recommend mindfulness meditation as a tool to really get in touch with yourself and what your feelings are. And in mindfulness meditation, you become an observer of your feelings and emotions. So you're not sort of wrapped up in them and, you know, flailing at the whim of your emotions, but you're actually like looking at yourself, feeling stuff, going, oh, okay, this makes me feel really unsafe.
Right.
And instead of reacting to that and lashing out at someone, you can literally just say, I feel really unsafe.
Yeah.
I feel attacked. I feel scared. I feel angry, whatever.
Right. And, you know, I want to piggyback on that is, like, sometimes we don't know what we're feeling.
Yeah.
Many of these that exist, if you Google feelings chart, you'll be able to find one. But it gives you, like, the list of different types of feelings. So you know that it feels uncomfortable and it makes you frustrated, but sometimes you need to dig a little bit deeper. Why does this make you feel frustrated?
Right.
Because it makes me feel rejected.
Right.
Because it reminds me of when I didn't fit in at school. It reminds me of when I wasn't accepted, you know, by, you know, my mother.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Whatever your primal wound is, those deep kind of wounds that pop up in circumstances that do not match.
Yeah. So there's feeling words for those. Oh, this makes me feel really underappreciated. This makes me feel really ugly. This makes me feel devalued. So having a vocabulary for those feelings can be really, really powerful and you know, can be really helpful too.
And aside from mindfulness meditation, I've been reading a book on nonviolent communication. And one of the concepts in nonviolent communication is communicating how the thing made you feel. And it's all about, like, this made me feel sad, angry, whatever. And you name that feeling and you express that feeling to the other person instead of lashing out and reacting to the anger. You're actually just talking about about
Yeah.
it. And not blaming them. You're taking responsibility
Right.
for your own stuff.
There's a term that we use often too, it's called passive aggressive. And so basically when you do get emotionally reactive, you're being aggressive. You know, passive is the person that's not reacting at all, that's pushing their emotions down, that's, you know, something's bothering them and then they're like, oh, it's not a big deal, I'm just gonna ignore it, I'm just gonna pretend it's not there. That's passive. But what happens is things that affect us, they have to express themselves some way. So if we're not going to a therapist or we're not talking to our good friend about it, we're not writing it down in our journal, it's going to express itself somehow, and chances are you're going to take it out on someone. It might be the person that you're angry with, it might be your dog. And so it's, and that's the aggressive aspect of it. So instead of being passive aggressive, when something bothers you even a little bit, try to start recognizing it, and work in progress. I am working on that as well. Recognize it right when it's happening so that you can say to yourself, like, gosh, she just said this and I recognize that it made me really angry, but not necessarily with her, but because it reminded me of this experience I had when I was 14.
And that's where we get down to brass tacks and take responsibility for our own feelings, because it might not be the other person's fault at all. You know, I think I would venture to say if you surround yourself with kind individuals who actually like you, it's usually not their fault. It's usually some trigger within you, and then when you own those feelings, you can take responsibility for that on your own. And then you can either talk about it with them or not. Up to you. If you just totally owned it as your own thing, you might not even need to say anything.
The important thing is recognizing that it is happening and not reacting to it, not having like a reaction. An immediate reaction. Instead, recognizing like it made me want to punch the wall.
And that's one way to take care of the people around us, a way to have a better relationships, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you have to walk on eggshells around someone who's highly reactive. And that can really ruin relationships. So in order to keep, you know, loving relationships close around you, and I mean your friends and your family, this is a really good way to take responsibility for that.
I do want to piggyback on that. If you find that you are having to address the same issue with the same person on a regular basis, like they're a huge trigger for you, it might not be a bad idea to take a break from them. You know, I know that, you know, we advocate for working out on our relationships, but sometimes it's important to recognize like some
self-care
relationships might not be good for you. Even as hard as you try to be non-emotionally reactive and process your feelings every single time, it might not work out that way.
I mean, it's really responsible to do that, but sometimes if you keep putting yourself in a situation that hurts you, then you're doing self-harm. And it's not good for you, and taking a break is really important for your self-care. So I think that was the sex talk.
Sex Talk.